Checked. How are we? Good to see you all. Firstly, thank you for tuning in. It is now day 7. We have officially completed a week after today. Today we're going to be diving into how to choose your circle wisely, the influence of the 5 closest people around you, and how that's important. We're trying something a bit different today. I've set up the camera in a slightly different way, so hopefully you can see me. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Let's mute that one. So let's have a little look, see who's on. So why it matters? Why does it matter who is around you? What eventually will happen, whoever you surround yourself with, you will end up picking up their habits, whether it be subliminally, whether it be intentionally. I found this out quite quickly, especially in different environments I've lived in. So I've lived in Scotland, I've lived in America, I've lived in Thailand, I've lived in Australia, obviously Tenerife. And you do tend to pick up habits that are already engraved in that environment. One of the things that is important to me, hi darling, how are you? Good to see you. Are these comments coming up actually? Let's have a little look, 2 seconds. I've tried a different way today. I've tried a slightly different way of doing this live, but I can't see any of the comments. I've made a pig's ear of it, I think. I've made a pig's ear of it, because what I'm doing is I'm going to read the comments off here, so I can't really see how many people are watching. Anyway, live chat, here we go. Live chat, wait there, let's have a little look. There we go. George, good to see you. How are you, pal? There we go, we're on, we're in. Live chat. So, little shout out to everyone. Morning, everyone. Craig, good to see you. Nanette, Heidi, Craig, Cafe Noble, Brian Foster, and Louise, Karen. Wow, there's a few on. Kim, Carol, Leslie, Nikki, Claire, Liz, Katie Collins. Good to see you. Right, we're back in action. There's a reason why I've done it slightly different today. I'll tell you why in a little bit. But first off, like I said, your environment and the people you surround yourself are very, very important. Now, why? So, our closest relationships will have an impact on us, whether it be positive or whether it be negative. A lot of it's to do with energy. You know, have you ever had somebody that you're with and, you know, it starts off great, it's fantastic, and then, you know, something happens and it's a bit more negative, and then you kind of bounce off each other's energy, and in turn you end up resenting each other. That happens all the time. That happens a lot. Every interaction is an exchange of energy. Now, I'm going to give you an example of environment first. So for me, doing these videos, set myself up for the day to win, and then instantly going to somewhere I know I'm going to be productive, because I know if I sit and watch TV or I sit with my laptop, I can have the best intentions of doing the work, of creating content, of doing blog posts, you know, whatever it may be, learning songs. However, if I'm sat in an environment like a comfortable house that's nice and warm, and there's food in the fridge, and there's nice treats in the cupboard, that's only going to last so long. My willpower is going to kick in, dip at some point and think, do you know what? I'm going to have one of the cookies, and that's me for the day. So after this video, what I like to do is I've gotten a routine of going straight to the gym. Now, I might not get in the gym until maybe 1:30. Let's use yesterday as an example. I went to the gym, I got there at 12:30. And when I say gym, I mean David Lloyd. They've got like a little coffee area. Now, I was in that coffee area from 12:30 until 3:15, right? And then I went to the gym, and then I went to the spa. I didn't get home till like 5:30 last night. Now, why is that? What I've realised is, and especially being back in Scotland, is I've got a lot of, obviously, friends that I grew up with back here, and love them all. I've got a very, very close circle, and there's a reason for that. The people that I choose to hang out with really benefit my energy. You know, they don't take my energy away. They don't, you know, I used to hang around with people that, you know, you knew what was happening every Friday night, Saturday night, hangover Sunday morning. And you'll quickly realise, like, if you've got these people in your life, they're fantastic, right? Everyone has them. But if you pull yourself away and you try and say better yourself for maybe this 21-day challenge, say if there's someone on this 21-day challenge that's, say, for instance, giving up alcohol for the 21 days, you know, you want to take a little rest, a little reset, and you normally hang out with George, right, every weekend. Now, the first weekend, you might get a text saying, are you coming out tonight? Really want to see you. You know, normal plan. What's the plans tonight? And you say, actually, George, I'm doing a 3-week challenge, taking a break off a drink. All right, cool. Now, that first text on the Friday, George might be like, you know what? Wow, love it. Brilliant, great. I'm out anyway. Maybe see you tomorrow. Saturday comes, same message happens. Hi, you coming out tonight? George, I've told you last night, like I'm doing this challenge. Then the guard goes up. Then it's like, well, what do you mean you're not coming out, like, at all? Like, no, I'm just going to put myself in an environment. I'm just going to watch TV tonight. Going to have a tub of ice cream. At least that's better than having a drink tonight. You know, you're substituting it with something else. The following weekend, you might get a more direct text. Hi, will I actually see you tonight? And you'll see a notice and a shift in people's behaviour once you start bettering yourself. Because what that happens is that's a reflection on them, because now they feel guilty for doing something they probably, you know, they might think, well, actually, should I be going out every weekend? And in time, what happens is that relationships get further and further away. So if you've done the 21-day challenge of the alcohol thing, for instance, and you're actually like striving after 21 days, you're like, do you know what? I'm going to do another month. Easy. And then it gets to 3 months. You'll quickly realise that the only thing you had in common with George is actually drinking, is actually going out, which again, it's brilliant, you know, at times, but every weekend, getting into these habits, you know, and for some people, it's, you know, they have a drink and then that's a trigger to do other stuff. Do you get what I'm saying? Ed Sheeran sang this perfectly. Bad habits lead to, you know, other bad habits. Whether you go for a night out, you wake up the following day, you're going to have a breakfast, then you might have a McDonald's, and then you're going to miss a gym. And it all leads from that one decision to have a drink. And I'm the world's worst at it. I'll have one drink, and then I'm out the whole night, and the next day, my day's ruined already. I'm setting myself up for a failure. I wouldn't come on this podcast. I wouldn't, you know, I'd make up an excuse. Oh, there's no internet, you know? So that's why it's really important to surround yourself with people that bring out the best in you. Let's have a look at some of these comments, because I realise we've made quite a good intro there. Morning, Frankie. I agree with around negative people that can bring you down. You spoke about the lady in the gym yesterday, how you actually made her feel better, and just saying it's okay, don't stress. I identify with this one so much. I love that. So yesterday I actually saw the girl in the gym as well. And instantly she saw me come in, and, you know, it was just an instant kind of friendship. And I probably shouldn't say this, but she was like, yeah, I got 2 coffees, and she was like, just give me it for one. You know, it's nothing to do with that. It's like just having better relationships with people and being basically kinder. Like even yesterday, I noticed I was doing it in the gym, on the way to the gym, smiling, you know, even silly conversations in the gym when you spot someone. You know, this guy was doing quite a heavy bench press, and I wasn't doing anything. I was on a rest set. I was doing my shoulders yesterday, and I thought, do you know what? I'm going to go over and just stand behind him, make sure. The guy done it fine. The guy absolutely smashed it. The guy was an absolute tank, right? I don't know what I would have done there with my wee pencil arms, but the guy was a tank. But the guy literally turned around to me and says, like, I appreciate that. Like, I appreciate you taking 25 seconds out of your time just to make sure that bar never fell on me. I never done anything. It was the intention, in case something happened. It was the intention of doing that thing for that person. And how that conversation led was, so what do you do? I says, oh, I'm a singer. And he said, oh, in Scotland? I says, well, actually, I live in Tenerife, and I want to be in Vegas, and blah, 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 blah. You know, you tell your identity. And the guy's like, that's absolutely so cool. I run like a social media marketing agency. And we've connected because I'm thinking, well, I need that. At some point, I need that. And in turn, he had said to me, he's like, do you have any shows in Edinburgh? And obviously, I mentioned the assembly rooms. And he says, oh, my mum sorry, his girlfriend's mum loves that kind of music, and his girlfriend kind of likes it, but she was like, that would be a great Christmas present for her parents. So yesterday, before I left the gym, came over with a what do you call it, a booking receipt, 4 tickets to the assembly rooms. Now, track back a little bit. How did that happen? Because I had the intention of helping the guy in case something went wrong in the first place. I wasn't expecting anything in return. But having that relationship and having that openness, and funny enough, his name was Craig. Craig actually booked tickets to the show. But did I do that for that reason? No. I never knew the girlfriend's parents were fans of that kind of music. And I did tell him as well, hopefully they have a good sense of humour. Hopefully they have a good sense of humour. So let's have a look at some of these comments. Craig, agree, it's round us all. Very true. Some of our friends can be associated with bad habits you want to change. And by the way, this might get a bit deep. So if you realise if you're aware of the friends or even family, because I've done this myself, if you're aware that they have an impact on your energy or your behaviours, or they just rile you up, is having that person around you or in your life even worth it? And the truth is, it's not. Doesn't matter if it's a close friend or even a family member. For me, I've had to really just kind of really distance myself away from certain people, to save the. It just saves a lot, for your personal well-being. That's why I wanted to spend so much time with my dad, as it boosts me up. Sooner or later, I'm going to lose him. Can never open up to anybody else. Kim, totally get you. My dad is the only thing that has a close connection with me more than anyone else. The stigma around thinking you can only socialise if alcohol is involved. I'm 4 years sober, and whilst I have anxiety, I'm glad I gave up the alcohol. Nick, who is that? Nikki, really appreciate you sharing that. That's I think Karen's got Karen Rogan in the comments. I don't know if she'll want me to say this, but she's got quite a similar story. We're giving up. I think we've all got quite a similar story with that substance, with alcohol, at some level, Right time, right place. You both benefited from engaging in that chat. Friends we think are friends actually sometimes is that meant to say antagonise? Oh, acquaintances. Sorry, acquaintances. And actually, when you do, they don't like it. Well, Karen, here's the thing. You're basically holding a mirror up to them. And what I've realised is, here's a little bit of secret sauce. When you're receiving some, I wouldn't even say hate, when you're receiving some maybe criticism, and listen, there's positive criticism, there's genuine good feedback that's criticism. Don't get this twisted. However, sometimes you'll see comments, or sometimes you'll hear comments that are directed to you that you think, well, actually, that's so far off the mark. But what I used to do was I used to bite, right? And I used to think, well, why are you saying this? Like, but the good thing, or for me, the better thing to do was actually look at that thing, and say, well, is that a reflection on you or me? Is what you've just said describing me, or is it actually describing you, however you're projecting that on me? Does that make sense? I don't know if anyone's had that situation before. Anyway, getting slightly off track. By the way, well done, Nikki. I love that, Karen. Karen, you left a comment. Anne Louise, I'm not going to lie, you've not left a little quote. Where are you? Anne Louise has just commented. I lost 2 lovely friends whose deaths were directly related to alcohol. So very sad, yeah. Alcohol is, everyone says in moderation and stuff, which is true. If you get, I'm very envious of the people who can actually do it in moderation. Like, I'm jealous of you guys who can have 1 or 2 drinks and leave it. Like, for me, I think there's been 4 times in my life where I've had 1 or 2 drinks and went home. If I have 1 drink, I'm out. Like, out. and that ruins the next again day because you've got anxiety. Anyway, this is not a conversation about alcohol. That's a different story from a different day. Let's get back on track because this isn't going to be another 40-minute video. How long are we at? 15 minutes. We're all right. We're all right. We're going to read one more comment and then we're going to get back on track. It's good to listen to a young man who has a path to follow in life and is focused on following the path. It's very refreshing. Brian, I appreciate that. And Brian, you've tuned in every single day, which is, and I know I keep saying it as a laugh because we always have banter. You know, me and Brian booked me for a show at the Liberton Rugby Club, and since the first time, you know, we met each other and, you know, saw a couple of my shows. He's got a lovely Mrs. Sandra. We've become very, very close, and you know, we went golfing together. We were at the driving range, and you know, we speak about it a lot. We have that, but we have that banter, that Scottish kind of talk about Hibs and Hearts and you're whatever. But actually, Brian, like the fact that you've came up every day and genuinely left some sort of feedback or some sort of you've engaged at some point, like that that's that got to me, like in a good way. I appreciate it. So anyway, wouldn't be Frankie and Mack without a switch of topics. Katie, you know me too well. You know me very well, Katie. Quote, and the reason now we're talking, last one, and then we're going to move on. Quote, you're never too old to start over. You're too old to keep doing what isn't working. You're too old to keep doing what isn't working. I like that one. And Louise, I'm not going to lie, it's not one of your best. I get what you're saying. Maybe think of something a bit more better. No, I do get what you're saying. I like that one. Right, let's get back on track. So, we have discovered that surrounding yourself with people, physical people, has an influence. Now, here's the catch, right? Do they have to be physical? Now, before you start thinking I'm going a bit crazy and a bit doolally, right? This is what I mean. So, Jim Rohn said, is it John Rome or Jim Rome? Is it John Rome or Jim Rome? Let's call him J. Rome. I think it's Jim. Is it John? Whatever. He said, you're the average people. You're the average in the... One second. Mr. Rohn said, you're the average of the 5 people who you hang about with the most. Now, that could be friends, family, acquaintances, work colleagues, whatever. However, let's flip that a little bit. What do you intake daily online? Instagram, YouTube? What things do you watch? Because for me, as a singer, I watch Dean Martin, Elvis, Michael Bublé, Freddie Starr, Freddie Mercury, all these entertainers that I aspire to be like. Believe it or not, even though some are not here, they are still my role models. They are still the people that I hang out with. And you might think that sounds crazy, but it's very, very true. I probably get my comedic timing from Freddie Starr. I probably get some of my charm from Dean Martin. I get some of that, you know, I don't want to say, I get some of that rock and roll swag, Elvis, you know. I understand how Michael Bublé can sing a song so elegantly. You know, all these things I love to steal and create a way that I can do them. And it's not so much stealing, it's understanding how someone operates. And Michael Bublé done an interview, and he said, you know, you steal from, I think it was Tony Bennett that originally said this, but if you steal from one person, you're just a thief. But if you steal from lots of people, that's research. You know, when you start a company, if anyone's planning on starting a company, there's a few people in the comments that are, you know, the first thing you should be doing is not getting all the products and getting whatever. It should be like, who's your competitors? What are they doing? Okay, how can I adapt the good things that they're doing, but plus make more value for the customer? What else can I amplify? So then if you're starting up a business, okay, pick out the good stuff, but then let's look at the bad reviews. Let's look at the 1-star reviews. You know, it might be, well, great product, but the shipping time was 3 weeks. Okay, now you can basically copy that, not copy, you can use the inspiration for the great business model. However, it might cost you a bit more, but let's implement a 3-day delivery. Both the same product, but now you're reaching the customer's pain points. You're actually going to, and by the way, you might be an extra, if it's a £500 product, you might be an extra £100. But I tell you what, I would rather pay an extra £100 to have that, say, product in 3 days than 3 weeks. 1,000,000% every day of the week. It could be £150. I would still have that because I would automatically assume that the company's just on the ball, efficient. Why is it taking 9 3 weeks? Why is it taking 9 3 days? You catch my drift. By the way, there's some good stuff going on here. I'm liking this one today. So basically, the thing with that, I'm just looking at some of these comments here. If you always do what you've always do, you always get what you've already got. And Nikki, so you've just really discovered the whole point of this project. You've given the game away, because that's a quote for a later date. However, I'm just going to use it now, and then I'm going to have to think of something else. So Nikki's just said, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. Now, I'm sure that was a Frankie Mack quote, but I'm sure Buddha used it, right? Or Isaac Newton. I'll let them have this quote just as a one-time thing. Now, Isaac Newton said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So true. When have you done the same thing over and over again, and then magically one day this thing happens? Doesn't happen, does it? Rarely, you know? So the benefit of creating new habits, which is all this, ends up like the secret sauce to creating a new identity. Now, if you create a new identity, you can create whatever future you want, but you reverse engineer it. You decide what future you want, you work out the identity, what that person needs to be to have that future. Then you do a self-assessment, a very, very honest self-assessment. Do I have some of these traits or things that I need to be this person to be here? And it's going to be no. Because if you already had these traits, you'd be here. So let's dig a little deeper. Let's see what you're currently doing, and let's see where you want to be. This is the whole point of this project, right? Eventually. These 21 days, this is just a little warm-up. This is just a little dropping stuff here and there. My genuine plan, I don't want to let it too much, but this thing is to take people on a journey, and I'll only be taking a handful of people at a time and really focusing on what it is they want. You know, it might be 5 people, it might be 10 people, it might be 20 people, because one, the framework that I've got for mindset, accountability, consistency, and knowing why is key, but also something I would say that's on par with that is a community. And I think and the proof's in the pudding. Look at the comments. Look at the comments. That was the right word. Craig C. Sir Alex Ferguson was my role model. Leadership, hunger for success, never give up, life coach or mentor, minus the temper in the changing rooms. Craig, the perfect example. And see if I had a kid or a child or whatever. I don't think I have, but see if I did. You would want them to emulate the best people with the best habits. So, for instance, if you wanted your kid to be, say your kid wants to be a defender, you're going to look at people like, you know, Maldini, Van Dijk, you know, all these people that were that are at that level. You're not going to study Messi to be a defender. Although you might learn some stuff, that's not the path that you want. You might pick up some things. And it's the same as the other way. If you want to be a striker, you're going to look at 3 people, 4 people, you know, Maradona, Ronaldo, Messi, Mbappe. You're going to steal stuff from each of them for what suits you. Does that make sense? You're not going to study Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, Paul Scholes, because they are the best in their area. Does that make sense? They're going to know different stuff, and they're experts on different stuff on how to link up play rather than scoring goals. They're not finishers. You know, they were masters at setting up stuff. Same with defenders. They're masters at not conceding goals, if that makes sense. So you really need to be specific on what you want to do, rather than just saying, I want to play football. I mean, that's good. At least you know where you're going. What position do you want to play? Right, I want to play left back. Right, okay. Do you think that's specific enough? No, of course it's not. I want to play left back in France. Right, okay. Why in France? Well, my grandparents were French, and now you've got a reason why. You know the why. You want to be in France, so that's the environment you want to be in. Let's take it one step further. I want to be a left back in France, but playing for Marseille. Now hold on. What happens there? You're now laser focused on everything around that left back in Marseille, identifying what things you can do better, identifying things that you shouldn't do, and to get yourself in that position to be in that team one day, if that makes sense. I use football as an analogy because I always use stuff like football, singing and losing weight, and so I wanted to try something a bit different there. And I think that was a way of putting that forward that everyone would kind of understand. Like, it's no point, it's no good just saying you want to play football. Where do you want to play football? What stadium do you want to play in? How many people do you want to play in front of? Is it 5,000 people or 50,000 people? You know? Let's go to section 3. In fact, have I not got any quotes today? Anne Louise, I've failed. I've got no quotes today for you. What have I done with them? Right, section 3. Curating your circle. How to build a positive circle, like finding mentors. This was a big thing for me. I met a guy in Tenerife called Peter Sage, and he does this thing called Millionaires Business School. And what I quickly realised was it wasn't about the school as such. Although it gave very valuable content and very valuable information, it was a 3-day course. Now, the content was fantastic, right? But that could be the best content in the world, and if you're not in the correct environment, you're not going to process that content. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. If he gave you the secret sauce to be to lose weight in 4 weeks, and it was for the perfect body, or to be a multi-millionaire after 21 days, whatever it is, if it was guaranteed, and he basically sold you this thing, and it was guaranteed to happen if you showed up every day, after 2 weeks, you'd still probably get bored. So what I quickly realised was it's the actual environment that keeps you consistent. It's the example here, the YouTube live comments. This is keeping the thing going, not for me, because I'm going to do this anyway. Like, it doesn't matter. For me, it doesn't matter if you show up or not. Like, I'm going to be real with you. It doesn't matter, because I'm going to do this anyway. And somebody's going to get value for this. However, if you genuinely want to do better yourself and better habits and get a different shift in your mind, I am more than happy to use this as a community. And we've already seen it this week. I did not expect this. So the people that are engaging, the people that are commenting, the people that are into this, now I've got a connection with you, if that makes sense. So now I do care. Whereas at the start, it was a case of me showing up every day. Some people watch, some people don't. That's cool, but there's been at least 10 people watching these videos every single day without fail and sending me pictures on their journals, their habits, their mindset. And what I'm starting to realise and get a lot of is people sending me quotes. So I wonder if I'm going to start to be known as the quote guy. However, I really want to build a community. But people that are like, I don't just want anybody to watch, like anybody can watch these YouTube videos. I don't want to waste my time with, again, the environment. So I don't want to waste my time for somebody that's going to tune in maybe, once a month, because you're never going to help people like that. It's the environment, it's the community. So what I realized at this course was there was 400 people in the room, all striving to do the same thing. Now, some people were doctors, some people were lawyers, some people had their own businesses. I was the only singer there. So it was very different for me, but we all had something in common. We wanted to better ourselves. And there was absolutely zero chance I would have intook the information or applied the information if I was not in that environment. It sounds a bit cheesy saying this, but it was absolutely magical. Being in an environment where you're all listening to the same content, but here's another thing: you all pick up the content differently, and you all have different ideas. So when you're in groups, and when you're in groups of 5 or groups of 10, and you've picked up the same content, the same message, but you've adapted it in a different way, that's unbelievable, because then that helps somebody else thinking, well, actually, I never thought it that way. And you get creative. And community is going to be the big thing. If I want to, I'm going to continue doing this, but I'm going to have to find a way to get a community, as in, like, we'll all go somewhere, like on a Facebook group or a whatever it is, if that makes sense. And it keeps everyone, one, accountable, keeps everyone consistent, because you're showing up, and you actually will end up making friends. And as mad as that sounds, I had a person message me the other night, right? And I won't mention who. I won't mention if they're on or not just now. They messaged me saying, it was a long message, but basically it says, look, really appreciate what you're doing. Tuned in every day, really good content, but they were like, it's not really the content that I'm looking for, it's the community. And that got me thinking. I said, well, what do you mean the community? What does that mean? And she said, or he said, no, she said, the comments and the engagement and the stuff that I'm putting in and getting back, it makes me feel like I'm part of something. And I was like, that's mad, because I was like, I've always felt like that. I've always felt like I've not been included or not felt part of something. Whereas doing this, like, this is, like, for me, like, this is unbelievable. I absolutely love this, and I'm loving it. And still, look, you can see the comments here. Let me just read some of these comments. What's Brian said? Somebody's wrote, well done, Brian. Oh, it was that comment with the guy. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. Fly with the crows. Fly with the crows, shot with the crows. Nanette, have you been drinking? What do you mean? Fly with the crows, shot with the crows. I've not got that one. Is that a quote? Is that a typo? Don't know what it means. Cafe Noble quote. Here we go. Cafe. All of our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. And by the way, I'm going to tweak that a little bit. I'm going to tweak that. And this is a Frankie Mack quote. Halloween. Oh, happy Halloween, everybody. This is a Frankie Mack quote. 31st of October 10, 2024. This came originally from this thing that we're doing. What was I going to say? So you've said all of our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. What if I told you, right? Just humour me for this one. What if I told you all of your dreams will come true if you pursue them? Now, I'm going to be a creep again, and I'm going to, because I always do this when I find a word that's I would say meaningful, I'm going to Google the meaning of the word pursue. To follow or chase. Don't like that meaning. Wait there. Let's have a look. Because see, if you chase something, you're not going to get it. Pursue's a different vibe. When you chase something, it smells of desperation. When you pursue something, whether you get it or not, it doesn't really matter. But having that attitude with it doesn't really matter will be the reason why you get that thing. Believe me. Once you let the small stuff go, and once you let... This is another thing I learned at school. Once you let... So you've got to know the reason why, and you've got to know the reason what. What you're after and why. The how are you going to get it is none of your business. Because it's never going to be the way you think it's going to be. So if you're focused on that one thing that you're saying, let's take a... I'm trying to think of an analogy to think of this. Let's take a blow away football, right? And football is the main theme today. let's take a blowaway football, right? And a kid's kicked this miles away, and it's went over the other side of the river, right? Now, you can make the best plan in the world. You can get a fishing rod, right? And you can and try and get this football, right? Whatever. You're trying to work out how I'm going to get this football back. Well, what if you just stood there and just thought, do you know what? I've lost it. I'm not going to get it back. And in that moment, the wind just blows this football right back. How did that? You could never create that in your mind for that to happen at that moment. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm not wrong. Because when you chase the how, the further that goal is going to get away from you. Believe me, I've done it many times. And once you start letting stuff go and letting stuff just happen naturally, you'll start to find you attract to things. Now, it's important to become the person that's attractable. Doesn't mean physically, doesn't mean it's a package. Because like attracts like. So once you start behaving in a way, one, that you deserve that thing, like people say to me, you know, money's a bad thing, you know, money doesn't buy happiness. No, it does, because I'll tell you why. Happiness comes with freedom. And I think if you give the option for everyone to have more freedom, not money, but money gives you the option to have more freedom, or more people to work for you, or more people to, more outgoing, more ways of being able to do what you do and spending more time. Like, having more money can make you spend more time with your kids or your parents or whatever, because you don't have to, you're not working hour on hour on hour. See, this is the thing we need to get with the habit as well, is focusing on trading 1 hour of work for a wage. Like that's bonkers. And I used to be in that cycle, and this will be a separate thing altogether. This has nothing to do with habits, well, it is kind of, but like, you need to stop trading an hour of your time for an hour's salary, or an hour's, even if you're getting paid £100 an hour, it's still trading your time for money. Now, I'll tell you the reason. What's more valuable, time or money? Time. Money's endless. Money's everywhere. You've only got a selected amount of time and a limited amount of time. There's no amount of money that's going to make your time longer. I'm going to use an example. If I said to you right now, listen, I'm going to give you £1 million and I'm going to transfer you it right now. It's now 11:10, right? How happy would you be on a scale of 1 to 10 if I just gave you £1 million? You'd be pretty psyched, right? You'd be pretty happy. You might go out and get some clothes and whatever, and, you know, phoning sick on work. However, if I said to you, I'm going to give you £1 million, but you can't use it, or if I give you £1 million, but you're going to pass away tomorrow, are you going to take the £1 million? In fact, are you going to take £10 million today if you're not going to be here tomorrow? Never. You're never. But that feeling of being delighted and being happy once receiving that money on that day, you say you're going to be the happiest you've ever been. Well, why not wake up with that feeling? Because you've just said, and you've just agreed with me, and I already know you're agreeing with me, that your time is more valuable than the £10 million. So wake up, start waking up with a bit more, and I'm the world's worst for it, and I've started to get into this habit of waking up with more gratitude, waking up with more, like, you know, there's a lot more people that are in a worse situation in this world. So I'm just going to, I've got my cards that are dealt to me, and I'm just going to play them. I'm going to play my cards. And for whatever happens, whatever the dealer puts on the table, it's out of my control. So I just need to play with what's coming out. That's it. And once you have that mindset, and once you start not letting things affect you on the outer side, because everything's internal. Whatever you feel internal is a reflection on your outside, like your habits, for instance. Your habit, every choice you've made in life is the reason why you're in this position right now, or whether you're really happy or you're really sad in the position you're in. It is all you. Nobody's put you in that position. You know, yes, some things might have happened, or you know, everyone's went through stuff, some worse than others. And it's out of your control, whatever happened. So everything has to start with inside. Hence why doing this, creating habits, turning up every day. Again, the things that I love to say is the confidence and the self-belief is one of the most important things you need to have, because confidence is having a relationship with yourself. And you're the only person that you spend 24 hours a day with. Do you get me? Does that make sense? I'm going to read a couple of comments here. Oh, there's a few comments. Wow. I'm in work now. Got to put my phone in. Nikki, a great book to read. It's awesome. Breaking the habit of being yourself by Joe Dispenza. By the way, love Joe Dispenza. And one day I'm going to speak with him. Mark my words. Somebody save this little clip right now and show him in a couple of years when I'm on a stage with him. Heidi, this last week has been amazing. Love the community and support. And Heidi, 100%. The community, I realise that's the thing. Listen, I could give you the best content in the world, and listen, I'm giving you good stuff here. Like, and I didn't know it was really beneficial because I thought everybody knew this, but I've just been a weirdo or a wee creep for like 10 years, and I watch this crap every day, right? I watch this stuff every day. So when I speak to people, I'm thinking, well, it's obvious. That's the answer. And they're thinking, I've never thought of that. That's what made me do this. And I'm not saying I'm clever or intelligent or better than anyone or whatever. Like, I just feel like I'm very strong at this, as in very driven. I don't think many people in the situation I'm in, starting 5 years ago, doing what I'm doing on my own, would be in a position I am in right now. And I want to share that with people. I want to share the tricks that I've done, the hacks that I've done. I want to share absolutely everything, because there's nothing like this online where there's a singer that's or an actor or somebody, like, they'll just focus on that thing. Like, I love that thing, don't get me wrong, I love it, but I love this more. As mental as that sounds, like, I think this is going to take a slight shift where I'm going to be singing less than I'm speaking. And by the way, I'll be singing a lot, right? Don't get me wrong, I'm going to be singing a lot. You're not going to get me off that stage. However, I think now being 31, I think I've got a real bigger purpose in life, and I'm only starting to realise that just now. Because I do feel like I can give value to people, and not only give value, but build these little communities that will just grow and grow and grow. And I'm not saying I'm going to be like anything, like, say for instance, if you want to give up drinking, right? And I didn't understand why that, like, years ago, I didn't understand this concept, but Alcoholics Anonymous, in my head, I'm thinking, well, if you want to give up something, why would you join other people that want to give up? I don't understand. And then speaking with people in Tenerife that some people are in it, or this was like 4 or 5 years ago, I thought that's such a genius idea, because everyone's chasing the same goal. Don't like using the word chasing, pursuing the same goal. And what ends up happening, if you've got people around you that are willing to fight for you and are willing to keep you accountable, like if I said, do you know what, I fancy a drink tonight, I'm going to have Angela, Steve, Paul saying, and listen, it's just one more day. Just don't have a drink today, maybe tomorrow. So, and by the way, this is an attitude that I love. Just worry about today. Because I said to myself this morning, just do this podcast today, see what happens tomorrow, because it takes the pressure off. The goal isn't unachievable now. All you need to do is get through another 12 hours, easy peasy. I don't need to have a drink today, might have one tomorrow, and tell yourself the same thing every day. And as silly as that sounds, it works. Believe me, it works. It works. So, we are now 45 minutes into this. I wish I could see how many people are on. Wait, 20 people watching now? I don't think that's correct. Does anybody know how many people are on? By the way, also, thank you so much for everyone that signed up. www.myidentityproject.co.uk. I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm all in. I am all in with this brand. I've been up for 4 nights, I would say. 3 hours sleep a night, because I've become obsessed. When I've got an idea, I become obsessed with that idea. There's things that I know I could give value to, and it's strange because I've put it before my singing next year. So I've got a couple of things going on next year, a couple of gigs, but I had more lined up that weren't confirmed yet, and I've just scrapped them because I don't want to play small anymore. So the gigs that I'm going to do are going to be gigs, right? Live bands. You know, there's going to be a few, you know, the people that I'm never going to, you know, walk away from people, but so places that I love, Preston Field, you know, Liberton Rugby Club. These are going to be still in my circle. I love these gigs. These are what have made me. But going forward, I know myself, I need to raise the standard. Assembly rooms, 13-piece band, dancers. However, this is going to be a huge part of it, because I want to be on a stage speaking about this stuff as well. And also, again, a lot of you know that I'm doing ADHD coaching as well. I'm in a meeting every Tuesday, and I'm not going to lie, this was one of the reasons that I started this. There was a conversation 2 weeks ago, and his name's Morris. I want to tell you so much, but I can't tell you so much just now. And there's a reason, but I will tell you this. So 2 weeks ago, I was on a call. We do 45 minutes every Tuesday. And the way he gets me to not change, he doesn't get me to change. He basically sits there and just says, well, why do you think that is? So for instance, for me, give me a bad trait that I've got. I get very emotional at times. I'm very sensitive. So I would tell him this, and he would say, well, why do you think that is? And no one's ever asked me that before. What do you mean, why do I think? That's your job to tell me. It's your job to tell me, like, hello, no, Frank, why do you think that is? And what that does is it actually gets you thinking, well, do you know what? Wait there. When was the last time you actually questioned yourself or had somebody question you, why do you think that is? And it's kind of like therapy. I've never been in therapy, but I feel like I need it. And this is helping me. Well, I might be sensitive because, you know, used to get bullied at school. My guard's always up. Never felt included. I do a show where I'm Frankie Mack, and is that actually Frank? You know, then we dug a little deeper. But what does Frank actually want to do? Well, Frank wants to help people. Frank wants to, you know, make sure people are not in that situation. Whereas Frankie Mack entertains. He still wants to make people feel included. He makes people laugh, but it's not the real person. So he says, well, why don't you do both? He says, why don't you have something for Frank and something for Frankie? And that hit me. And then one of the goals was, well, for Frank, I want to write every day. I want to be able to show up every day and do something every day for Frank. So we had this call, and afterwards, I had this idea. I was like, do you know what? I'm not going to write every day if nobody's keeping me accountable. What can I do? This. So this is a selfish way of me turning up every day. Yes, I'm helping you, but this is also for me. And I'm loving it because I've really got a purpose to get up in the morning. I've really got a purpose to, you know, I need to make sure I'm up a bit earlier to, you know, get washed. And by the way, I know you can't smell me, but I'm putting aftershave on. Why? Because that gets me in the identity. That gets me in the frame of mind that, you know, that I'm a professional, if that makes sense. Because I don't want to give you crap. I don't want to give you, like, your time's more valuable, like I've said, than any amount of money. So I want to make sure, yes, you're on here for 45 minutes, but I want to make sure the 45 minutes are worthwhile you being on here. I don't want to just come on and talk about, you know, Brian's cat or Jessica's, I was going to say Jessica's rabbit. Jessica's, okay, bad idea, bad thing. But hopefully that makes sense. But definitely community, the people you surround yourself with are the reason you will succeed. Yes, you can have the best ideas and content in the world, but see, to be honest with you, it does mean nothing unless you have that community. And I feel like this is like there's still 20 people watching. Even if it was just 20 people, imagine it was like 20 people just for the whole year. Imagine how much you can achieve if we just created a group or something. I don't know. I'm going to have a think. So it says 19 in chat now, 20. Well done, Cafe. 20 folk on. Love that. Is a Zoom group or Discord group a possibility? I tell you what, Zoom's a good idea. Zoom's a great idea, Craig. But also, so the things that are important is community, helping each other, but also writing is important. It is important. And you need to keep, for me, when I keep all my thoughts on paper, different person. I'm a totally different person. My brain's not as clogged up. I'm not as stressed. I can see exactly what I need to do. You need something to, like this. And I've not opened this today because I've wrote a couple of things that are in my vision and I'm not quite ready to share them just yet because they're quite scary. But we've done it. Guys, we're going to shoot off just now because, oh, there's 21 people watching now. How is that? And none of you's got bloody work to go to. Absolutely loving this, guys. Really am. And I appreciate everyone signing up, or not signing up, joining the waiting list, because I've hired somebody, and this was another thing I'm bad at, really bad at, is creating a team. I've already created a little team with this. So the website is getting done. And what I want, actually, if you can help me with this. So Craig's just mentioned a Zoom group. I think that's a great idea, actually. So after this call or after this video, this is going to be on YouTube. If anybody has any ideas how, say for instance, we do, like, imagine doing like, here's an idea. What about like a New Year's resolution challenge, right? Where we take, say, 20 people and we have maybe a Zoom call a week, but I show up every day. But we have one a week where we actually dissect individually what it is you need to do. Tell you what, that's not a bad idea. So what I would love is if everybody had an idea of how, say we done a 31-day challenge in January, for instance. What would benefit you? So community, Zoom meetings, that's a great idea. I like that. Really like that. Separate Facebook page. So separate, right, okay. Separate Facebook page where it's just the people that are on the Zoom meeting. In fact, that makes sense. I like that. Because the thing with this is you don't want to let everybody in this. You want to let people that are very serious about this in. Because and I'll tell you why. It's about the energy that goes in. If you've got 20 people inputting every single session or it becomes impossible to fail. However, if you've got 20 people in it and only 6 people are serious, those 14 people are going to drag these 6 people down, because these 6 people won't actually, I better not type that just in case, what people think. This has got to be like a very specific group, I think. However, how about a buddy system? By the way, a buddy system where you partner up with somebody to keep them accountable. Bill, what an idea that is. Yes. And Brian, I've just noticed your comment. Not everybody's confident enough to go on Zoom. However, Brian, you don't have to put the camera on, if that makes sense. And here's another thing for you. What if your New Year's resolution was to be more confident or just for January, was to be more confident by actually going on Zoom. Here, by the way, we've cracked it. There's loads of ideas here. I'm absolutely loving it. This is just the best. Thanks to everyone. Love the community. Brilliant. Someone give me one more thing before we go off, because this is just took my idea and scrapped it. Already I've scrapped my idea, because this is what yous need. It's not the ideas that I'm... By the way, Carol Hamilton, I'm 76. Absolutely love that, Carol. Absolutely love that. Good idea. I'm buzzing now for today. Craig, appreciate it. I'm going to write the ideas down after this, and I'm going to create something by January, because do you know what? I just came up with that idea just now. All doing a New Year's resolution. Think of one thing you want to change in a year, and to kickstart it, we'll do it in January together. But it has to be for people that are serious, so that's the only issue that I've got. I'm going to come up with something. Right, guys, I'm tuning off. Wait, let's close it, because what was the actual point of today was the inner circle, was the people that you surround yourself with. And by the way, that's basically finished on talking about that, creating a community together, people that surround yourself with. So today we covered the importance of choosing your circle wisely, surround yourself with people that push you forward to your best self. What I would love, we do that in Slimming World. We have a buddy if you want to chat. I done Zoom recovery meetings for months and kept my camera off till I became confident to put it on. It's a great idea. Karen, I'm not going to lie. Like, you come on the Mingle with Mack Zoom calls, you know, when we do a little meet and greet and stuff. And do you know what? This is a great idea. I'm going to set something up, but the thing is, it will be very, very time consuming, but very, very rewarding. So I need to come up with a strategic plan that I can still sing and still do this. But I can't have like hundreds of people on this. That's the only thing. I would have to be limited. Okay, leave it with me. Buddy system would be great. Yes, love it, love it, love it. Cafe, love it. Right, guys, we shall see you tomorrow for day 8. Well done for completing a week today. I actually can't believe that I've managed to do a week consistently, and it's actually getting easier and easier and easier, to the point where I'm actually looking forward to tomorrow now, especially after this chat, because this is there's so many ideas in my head right now. And another thing that's just popped into my head, like, in fact, we'll save that for another day. I've just had another idea. Okay, guys, all the best. Shall see you tomorrow. And love it. Thanks for today. Thanks for today. Thanks, Frankie. You're doing great. Have a great day, everyone. Look at that. Absolutely love it. Right, all the best, guys. See you soon.